Oh, hey there. I am at my best friend's house in Missouri. I got here on the 8th. It is currently the morning or noon of the 9th. Yesterday, the ride was pretty good, but then once I got to I-44, about an hour or so away from his house, torrential downpour. Like, bad. And I wasn't able to get my rain gear on in time, so I was completely soaked through and through. And I rode underneath the speed limit on I-44 for an hour and a half in just downpour. The worst rain I've ridden in this entire trip. It was pretty bad. This video, I'm gonna go over just kind of everything that either broke or failed throughout this trip, because I am nearly home. I'm about 8 hours away. The first thing that I noticed that broke, well, it really just went missing, was a bolt for the exhaust hanger on my exhaust. I found it in the Kinnickinnick campground. That's when I first noticed it. So, take a look. So this is on the right side of the motorcycle, and right here, there is an exhaust hanger bolt. It originally went through and mounted to a bracket that is where my pointer finger is, and this bolt fell out. Don't know when, don't know how. It must have been from all the vibrations from going off-road and whatnot, but it was causing the exhaust to hit right here. Luckily, I must have found it pretty early because nothing really happened to it. I just heard it started vibrating, so I got kind of curious. If you look here, this is my highway peg, and there should be one on the other side. After I left my hotel after seeing the Grand Canyon, some guy in his truck started waving me down very frantically. So the foot peg, the highway peg, is a two-part peg. There's the mounting bracket that squeezes on to the bar itself, and then the top part is the peg that sticks out and you put your foot on. Somehow, whenever, of the many times that I tipped over my bike, it must have made the bolt that secured it to the bracket loose. And on the highway, it came off, and I guess it hit this dude's truck. So I stopped and talked to him a little bit, wondering why the hell he was flailing and waving me down. And surprisingly, it did almost nothing to his truck. It hit the headlight cowling right in the plastic, and it made a little scratch, and that was it. So luckily, no damage was done, so no harm, no foul. But I lost my highway peg. And then, when I took my spill in the mud, the bracket, because I left it on there, it flexed this cage enough when I hit the ground that that bracket actually hit my stator cover. And that caused a hole. The hole was right behind this. This is some steel stick JB Weld, and I was able to patch it so it's no longer leaking. I discovered it and it looked like this. And then I was able to patch it at Walmart actually yesterday, on the 8th, on my way to this house. That is the biggest failure that I've had so far. The next failure that I've noticed, and it was actually yesterday that I noticed, was this fork seal. There's a seal right here that keeps oil within this tube so that it can do its suspension stuff. Noticed yesterday that it was leaking. There's oil all over, and you might be able to see the discoloration. It's like weirdly dirty down here. There's oil all over this left side, and I'm not sure how that happened. I'm hoping that whenever I did fall over in the mud, somehow some mud got shoved underneath that seal and opened it up a little bit. So I did get like a plastic shim, and I got underneath the seal and tried to get whatever dirt was in there out, and only time will tell if that fixed it. If not, I'll have to replace the fork seal, which isn't gonna be fun. The next thing that went wrong was actually a lot with my helmet. It's an awesome helmet. I really like this helmet, but the wind tore it apart. When I was in Saskatchewan, there was a heavy crosswind for multiple days. I was battling a lot, and up here, there are vents right here, and there was a little rocker switch to kind of open up the hole that's within here, and this rocker switch on both sides snapped in half and made it so that it was just sitting there flailing, and I could hear it within the helmet of that piece of plastic just going back and forth. And so I put some tape over it to stop that from happening. The next thing is this right here. I don't know how it happened. I don't remember dropping my helmet or it rolling off or something. It must have been from the wind, but there used to be 2 screws. This one used to be full, and they just snapped right off. It started cracking here, and then the wind, because this causes this to kind of go up and down like that. So the wind sit there and vibrate the helmet just like that from the crosswinds, and it just broke these. It's supposed to look like that, but somehow this crack formed, and that was the end of the story for this side. I'm not sure how, but other than that, this helmet's been really good to me. It's a really nice helmet. But the helmet was kind of getting old anyways. It's about a 3-year-old helmet, and helmets have a 5-year lifespan because the foam inside of them degrades, and so if you keep the helmet for longer than 5 years, there's a good chance that it won't protect you as good in an accident. The next thing to fail, and it actually failed yesterday during the rainstorm. So the reason why everything is out of my box is because somehow water got inside this box, even though there is a rubber seal all the way around it. But somehow, that's the inner liner right there. But water got in here from that rainstorm, and it soaked everything. Everything is wet. And really, that's all the things that went wrong, which is surprisingly a low amount for traveling 11,000 miles. The other thing that went wrong is one of my vacuum sealed bags for that mattress that I have, not my blow up mattress, but the memory foam pad that I have. I used to have a vacuum sealed bag that I put that in, and then I would suction it down so it would stay super compressed and take up less room in that tail bag. When I was opening it one time, it ripped on either side of the seal, and so I couldn't use that anymore, which wasn't a big deal. I was able to kind of rearrange the tail bag a little bit, and it really didn't make too much of a difference. So I don't really count that as a major failure. It was just a small inconvenience. That's really it. Other than that, like, most of my gear, even after all my falls, tip overs, almost all my gear survived. So one of the many times that I've tipped over, that happened. So this is my little pot that I boil water in to then put into a bowl to cook the rice or to cook the oatmeal. And one of the times, out of the 3 or 4 times that I tipped over on this left-hand side, this happened. So it didn't affect it to be able to hold water and cook, but it didn't allow it anymore to lock into the base and use it how it was intended to. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it works still. It boils water. Yeah. All that I have to do is use a different attachment that comes with it that's in there that enables it to be just set on 4 little legs that kind of stick out. So instead of it being locked into the flame producing device, it just kind of sets on top of it. Only real difference, and it still works. Still pretty good device. I'm honestly surprised with how little broke. I'm very thankful. And nothing truly major happened. I mean, the most major thing that happened was the hole in the stator case. But I was able to just kind of patch that up, and it'll get me home. It's not like I had to do any major maintenance on anything. So I'm very thankful for that. And overall, I've had a relatively disaster-free trip. Also on yesterday's drive, lost a shoe. No idea how, but it's missing. I believe I covered everything that broke or went wrong, so have a good one.